One thing I had to learn in the last couple years is that God does not speak from where you are. He speaks from where you're going, right? And I think it's so hard to trust him and have faith in him when he tells us certain things, because we look at our life now and we're like, it's the complete opposite of what God's telling me. Like, there's no way I can trust that. And God told me this explanation of a different perspective of how, you know, we communicate with him. And he said to picture being on the phone with him, right? This is him, this is you. And he's like, oh man, this movie that you're playing in, it's so funny. Great movie. And you're like, well, God, I'm working at Dollar Tree. I make $12 an hour. What movie? And he's like, you're an actor. I'm looking at this movie that you're playing in. It's really funny. And it's like, God, that doesn't make any sense. How am I going to be an actor? I'm working a minimum wage job. That doesn't make any sense. Or when God is like, oh, your wedding is so beautiful. And you're like, wedding? And God is like, yeah, your husband, he treats you so well. He loves you. And you're like, this was my experience specifically. For those who don't know, my entire life, I've mostly dated women. So when God gave me that call and said, your husband loves you so much. And I'm like, husband? Like, God, I'm with a woman right now. What do you mean, husband? And God is like, I'm at your wedding. Like, I'm looking at your husband. Like, he loves you. Like, you guys just did your vows. Like, your husband. And you're like, God, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm attracted to women. I don't see myself marrying no man. And God is like, well, I see you guys and you look very happy. So, and that's something he had to speak to me, because he was speaking my future and I was speaking out where I was. Or when God is like, you have a beautiful family. Your daughter looks just like you. And you're like, daughter? Like, God, I have fertility issues. Like, the doctor said I might not ever have a child. And God is like, well, I'm playing with her and she's very funny. And you look very happy playing with her also. So I don't know what that doctor was talking about, but I see her. And I think we need to remember that when God is speaking to us, he's speaking on that phone call from the future, right? So when he's telling you certain things, he's not speaking from where you are. He's not speaking from the place to where you're disqualified. He's speaking from a place to where you're already this, right? He's not speaking and saying, oh, you're going to be this because you're that right now. No. And I think that's where we get confused and we start to not have faith, because we're like, God, how am I going to be married when I told myself I'll never get married? When I cheat on women, I cheat on men, I do people wrong. How am I going to be married? And God is saying, well, from this phone call, I'm seeing that you treat your wife very well. I'm seeing that you treat your husband very well. You have a change of heart. So I'm not speaking from this place, right? This place you might be unhealed. This place you might be immature and childish. But from this place, you're very much healed. You're very much in the presence of God. You're very much aligned to my will. And God told me to also look at how he views our life is like he has a map, right? God is outside of time. He has a map, a blueprint of our entire life. So when he tells you certain things, imagine you're right here and the ending of your story is right here. He looks at where we are on our journey and tells us certain things depending on where we are. So if he's telling us, all right, right here, you're going to be married. He's not speaking from right here. He's telling us right here about right here. And I think we have to pay attention to that just because God told us something doesn't mean he told us the timing. He didn't say you're going to be married right now, because we panic. You know, like God tells us we're going to be married. We're like, no, I'm not ready for marriage. And he's saying, okay, well, you're going to be married. I didn't say you're ready for marriage. You will be one day, though. Or if God says you're going to have children and you're like, God, I have PCOS. Like, I have fertility issues. That's not going to happen. And God is saying, well, in the future, that's going to go away. I'm going to heal that. I'm not speaking from what you have right now. And I think it's so important to understand that it's sometimes we know God is omnipresent, but again, we don't grasp what that actually means. That means that he is on that phone call. He's already there. He's at that destination already. So if he's calling you to that promised land, he's there already. God is omnipresent. He is in the past, present, and future. He's already there. It's not like he's speaking from your present moment and just predicting what's going to happen. No, when he tells you something, it's crucial to trust him because he's already there. He can see it. There's no reason to not trust him. He's telling you, I see it. I see your husband. You guys are playing. with your kids. I'm confused. What do you mean you're not going to get married? I see it. I'm telling you. What do you mean you're not gonna be a lawyer? I see it. I see it. I see you going to college to be a lawyer. I see it. And you're like, God, well, I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to. I see it. I'm telling you, you are. I see it. So I don't know who needs to hear that or who needs that perspective, but God spoke that to me about that phone call, and understand that God is literally like a movie spoiler. Like, you ever pay attention to those people in the movies that are like, don't go in that room. Somebody back there. And then somebody go in there and they like, told her not to go back there. Like, God is literally like that. Like a movie spoiler. Like, he'll tell you what's about to happen. He watched that movie 1,000,000 times. He can see it. He sees the ending, the beginning to the ending. So again, I don't know who needs to hear that or who needs that perspective, but I hope that helps with your situation. Hope you take that back to God, and I hope that you trust him with your future, because he's already there. Okay? I love you guys, and have a good day.